Right. I think we've got everybody in the room. Good morning, everybody. How are you doing? Good morning, good afternoon, depending on what time zone you're at. My name is Kat Winston. I'm the co-founder of Equity Angels, and I'm your host for today's talk. We're going to be talking about the marketing playbook, proven content strategies to fuel startup growth. So excited to see some familiar faces, some familiar names, and also thrilled to see some new ones. So here we go. Whether you're building the next big proptech platform or launching a boutique brokerage, you know one thing. The real estate world is really noisy. After all, it is the largest asset class in the world. Cutting through that noise and getting your startup noticed, that's the challenge. Let's be honest, sometimes it feels like shouting into a void. We all know this, right? The panelists are nodding like yes. So today, we're going to turn down that volume of that noise and show you how to make your voice the one that gets heard. We're diving deep into the power of content marketing. Think of it like this. Instead of just pushing your message out over and over again, we're going to show you how to create content that pulls people in, builds a community, and establishes you as the go-to expert in your niche. And hopefully by the end of the webinar, you'll walk away with actionable strategies to clearly articulate your unique value proposition, leverage the power of owned and earned media, and build a thriving community to amplify your reach. So with all of that said, I'd love to introduce my panelists. Let's start with Marci James. Marci is the founder of Fire Digital and a true marketing legend. She's got a proven track record of driving results from proptech to brokerage marketing to working with industry giants like Realtor.com, NAR, OBEO, and Better Homes and Gardens. She's going to share her insights on building relationships, tackling communication challenges, and a great hack on refining your unique value proposition. Marci, welcome.
Oh, thank you so much, Kat.
Appreciate you. Joining us as well is Tiffany McQuaid, a nationally recognized real estate leader and marketing visionary known for being a trailblazer and really shaking things up in the industry. Tiffany recently merged her sought-after real estate brokerages under McQuaid and Company with Serhant, combining elite marketing strategies with high impact. She's also the author of one of my favorite books, The Nth Degree, How to Stand Out by Going All In. And that's exactly what Tiffany has consistently done over the past 2 decades, standing out by going all in. She's going to bring her unique perspective on building a powerful brand and cutting through the clutter. Honored to have you, Tiffany.
Thank you so much. Honored to be here.
Up next, Omar Rashid. Omar is a dynamic real estate leader, marketer, and entrepreneur who's been making waves since he was 18 years old, which wasn't too long ago, but he is just getting started. He leads Capital Corner Group. He's already founded Refitified Marketing, which is a 7-figure firm working with top brokerages, teams, and agents in the DC region. And on his spare time, he runs Culture Speak Studios, DC's top-ranked podcast studio. With a massive social media presence and a knack for building brands, Omar's going to share his secrets to creating content that truly resonates. Omar, thank you for squeezing us into your busy schedule.
Thank you for having me, Kat. It's a pleasure.
Thank you. And of course, last but not least, we have Danny Vanderboog. Danny is a dear friend, and she is the service editor and head of contributors at Inman, where she leads the service team to nurture industry professionals into published writers and amplify contributors' work to the masses. Along with her team, she also curates and produces niche newsletters for first-year agents, veteran agents, brokers, and teams, and writes an Inman column at the confluence of real estate and reality TV. She brings a wealth of knowledge about earned media and what it takes to get your message heard by the media. Welcome, Danny. Damn, we've got a powerhouse lineup today, guys. I'm so excited.
That was a mouthful. Yeah. Great job, Kat. Great introductions.
I'm going to be taking notes all day, learning from you guys, and I encourage everybody else to be taking notes too. We're going to dive right into some Q&A. But first, sorry, I've got just a little bit more speaking to do, and that is to just share a couple of slides so we can just talk about how much noise there is and just get a lay of the land of where content marketing strategy is at. So how much noise is there, guys? Well, according to the NAR, there are approximately 1.5 million real estate agents in the US, and that's just the ones who are registered with the NAR. There's over 2 million. 68% of broker associates and 66% of sales agents have a website. Actually, when I saw this one, I was like, what? Not 100%? 67% of realtors use Facebook and 49% use LinkedIn for professional purposes. And now let's look at what the noise is on the proptech side. Guys, can you believe it? We now have over 10,000 proptech companies trying to break into the noise in the real estate industry.
Wow.
And there's more companies coming through every day. So it's pretty mind-blowing where we're at as far as where the noise is. So let's talk about what content marketing strategy is. There's 3 pillars under content marketing, and that is owned media, earned media, and paid media. For the sake of today's conversation, we're going to be focusing on owned media and earned media because we encourage companies who are just starting out. If you're a new startup, you're a new brokerage, don't go paying money to advertisers just yet. You do that when you start scaling your business. To start, you focus on owned media and earned media. And what is owned media? It's pretty obvious what it is. It's anything you own that you can create the narrative and control it. Your website, your mobile apps, webinars like this, events, newsletters, profiles on places like Crunchbase and Angels List, social pages, your social pages. And then earned media is anything like media coverage. And then your social pages become earned media as soon as you get likes, as soon as you get engagement and people to talk about whatever it is you're posting. It's also about, your post getting shared by others. And lastly, user reviews, anything on Google or on your mobile app, any of those user reviews, those are all earned media. I'm going to shut up now. All right. So first up, let's talk about articulating a unique value proposition. How do you build a narrative that differentiates you from the competition? Marci, would you like to tackle this first? I know we've got a couple of panelists that can address this.
Yeah, I would love to. And this is, in case you don't know, I am a mentor with Equity Angels, and this is actually one of the sessions that I gave with the last group of cohorts, and I'm going to be giving an extended version of what I'm going to talk about today with them as well. But Kat, can you pull up my slides for me? I have a few slides because creating a unique value proposition is hard to explain without actually showing you on a deck of slides. So first, let's really talk about what it is. Simply put, a unique value proposition is a short, bold marketing statement that motivates customers to buy from you instead of your competitors. And I loved when Kat said, she mentioned competitive differentiation because that's a huge part of what your value proposition is. So each unique value proposition has 3 parts. You have the target audience where you segment your audience. So what exact segment are you wanting to attract? And then your unique competitive differentiation. What is that? And then the benefits. And sometimes we can include features in here, but benefits sell way better than features. So we want to really target the benefits your audience will experience. And it's really easy to create stories out of benefits as well. As a marketer, you can't create a story out of a feature, but if there's a benefit, you can create a story to tell your audience out of that benefit. And that's why benefits are so important. So next slide, Kat. All right, let's talk about how to create your unique value proposition. And I'm going to keep this short and sweet, but there's a really easy formula that you can use. And you see it on this slide there. We help target audience achieve specific benefit by what makes you unique. So a really easy way to do this would to create 3 Google Sheets. And the first one is going to be your target audience. The third one is going to be your competitive differentiation. And the third one are going to be your unique strengths and benefits. And so on each of those, you're going to create a list. So who are your unique audience? Who is your target audience segment? And you can have more than one. You should have one main audience segment who on the homepage of your website, that's who you're going to be talking to. But you can also have sub-segments and additional segments along with it. So lay out all of your segments on a piece of paper. Who are you serving? And be specific, not just real estate brokers, but independent real estate brokers. So list all of them. Then you're going to analyze your competitors. So pick your top 3 competitors, and they don't have to be exactly the same. They're going to be products that are similar to yours, and study their marketing. Look at what they're doing. Go visit their websites, see what they're claiming, see what they do, and then find the gaps. What does your product do that theirs doesn't do, or what do you do better? And write all of that down on your when you're analyzing your competitors. And then you're going to define your strengths. So what do you do better, faster, cheaper, more uniquely than all of the others? Again, try not to use features here. You want to use definitely things that you can tell a story with. And I also love quantifiable benefits. So if you can use numbers like 30% more productivity or 20% more lead conversion, things like that, anything that's quantifiable is also great to include. All right. Then you're going to take, I think we need the next slide, Kat. And you're going to create a little summary out of all of those. So if you go back to, all right, let's go back one more time. Sorry, go back a slide. So you see the formula. So now you're going to take your piece of paper and you're going to use this formula. You're going to use your notes to create this formula. So we help use the target audience that you're wanting to reach, and then the specific benefit by what makes you unique. And that's what you come up with. Okay, now next slide. And so some examples of this might be, we help real estate investors identify profitable opportunities by providing neighborhood data analytics that traditional marketing reports miss. So that's just an example of what you could do. But that might seem a little bit dry to you. And it's a little bit long. It's not necessarily a headline I would put at the top of my website above the fold. So one of the things you can do once you've used the formula to create, and you can create multiple of these as well. You can leverage AI to make them fun. So what I like to do is take my unique value proposition and drop it into ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini. Those are my 3 favorite. And I go back and forth between all of them depending on the purpose. And you can say, hey, please, ChatGPT, please create some additional unique value propositions based on this. And you paste in yours and then go. And it'll come up with some creative versions of that you can use, like traditional marketing reports leave gaps. We fill them in. Get next level neighborhood analytics to find your most profitable real estate details or real estate deals. And so that's fun. Your headline could be traditional marketing reports leave gaps. And then below that, the subhead would be we fill them. Get next level neighborhood analytics to find your most profitable real estate deals, and so on and so forth. So those are really fun. Finally, I would just want to mention how and where you're going to use your unique value proposition. And some of those places are website homepage, again, above the fold on the website. I like to use them at the very top as the main heading and subhead. You can also put them into email signatures. You can add them to your business cards and brochures. Your social media profiles, there's always a description of the company there, put it there. Any digital ads you run, you can add it to the copy. If you have a sales team, it can be part of your sales scripts. When you're speaking, you want to weave them into your speaking presentations. And then finally, don't forget to add them to your press releases. A great place to put them is actually in the boilerplate that goes at the bottom of every press release. So.
Yes. And even for, investor pitches, put this on your deck. It's
Investor
one of the
decks.
questions
100%.
that ask is, what is your unique value proposition? Thank you, Marci. And this actually really works, guys. It's a great exercise. We did it with our cohort last year, and at least a couple of the founders still use that same value proposition that they came up with Marci last year. So thank you for that. And that was great details. I hope everybody was taking notes or taking screenshots. We will be recording this and sharing it after, just in case. What about anybody else from the panel who wants to address anything, that they have on unique value proposition, maybe other examples that they worked with? Danny, what about from the earned media side? What captures your attention?
Yeah, I'm so glad to go after Marci actually, because my thought was when it comes to pitching, UP is super important to really capture and compel whoever it is that's making the decisions at the news organization or media company. You should really have a good grasp on your strengths, your weaknesses, what makes you different, and be able to say them succinctly. A pitch shouldn't be a super long situation. It should be like a couple of paragraphs at best, and you should get to the point. And that point should include kind of what market gap you're filling, why your company fits with that media company, why you're talking about it now, and why readers should care. And also, just to kind of get into what you're competing with. Not only are you competing with a crowded space and a crowded real estate industry, but there's also the news cycle is crazy. So anytime that we're kind of designating resources to cover a story, it has to be really compelling and worth the time and resources we're going to put into it. And for us at Inman, we have Craig Rao as our tech expert, who I believe is also
Also a mentor of the Equity Angels program, yeah.
Yeah, so he's been doing this for like 10 years, and he's peeked behind the curtains of companies for 10 straight years. He has a really good idea of what's in the space and where any company is going to fit in, what its competitors are, et cetera. So you should also have kind of the self-awareness when pitching of what else is out there and what you're up against, and really get to the point quickly. I will emphasize again.
That is such great points, especially with the fact that, having that competitive analysis, because again, it comes down to what makes you unique. Omar, I see you nodding. Do you have anything else that you wanted to add from whether it's from a social perspective or even from your podcasts? How do you interweave your unique proposition into those?
Yeah, I think everyone, especially on the content side, things can kind of get all seamless. Everyone can be doing the same thing, the same videos, the same style, especially within the real estate industry. So really going through what Marci said and going through what Danny said, and really understanding what is your value proposition as an individual agent, as a broker, as a team. That's going to be key in figuring out what kind of content that you're going to pump out that resonates with people and identifies you with that type of content, right? Like, what can you do with your podcast? And it comes down to like the very small things, your intros, what you call your podcast. So all those things need to be aligned with what your value prop is. And that really helps you also not have to worry about what kind of content am I going to pump out, because, okay, these are my values. This is what I align with. And this is the type of content that I need to, produce in order to get that result. So I think it really helps you in, most importantly, figuring out what type of content you're going to be producing.
That's such a great point, to just be consistent with your value prop in every content that you put out there. It's almost like your North Star, right?
Yep.
Now, this next question, I'm gonna start with Tiffany. Tiffany, you've been known to be bold, to go all in, to be extra. So why does being extra matter? Oh, I can't hear you. Sorry.
I muted myself. Sorry. So, I think we are in a world, and Marci just put up these, well, you can't actually, before Marci, put up those amazing stats, 1.5 million realtors at NAR, 1.5 million. So, the big thing, everyone goes and gets their license and says, oh, I have my license. Now I'm going to go sell billions of dollars worth of real estate, just like the people on the TV shows, right? And there's this misnomer that it's an easy industry, but it can be easy if you do the work and you're constantly educating yourself and re-educating yourself and finding, as Marci said, and Danny was talking about, your unique value proposition, and understanding even what Omar was talking about how you're putting it out there in terms of authenticity. Because we're in a world now, think about it, 50% of the people on social media are happy about what's going on, and probably 50% are not happy. And all you have to do is go through the feed, and it has the ability and the capability to ruin your day if you allow it, right? So when you're doing things and you're preparing to market yourself, now that you have your license and you want to go out and, do very well for yourself and your family, it all comes down to authenticity. And if you don't authentically kind of sit down, take some time, do some soul searching, go all in and figure out who you are. Who are you going to convey and allow the world to see that is going to be a connection piece for you? And I think there is such a difference. And, I think in our world of distraction and reaction, I think you can just in simple scrolls figure out who has prepared footage and who has authentically shared footage. Who is posting things that are very true and aligning with who you may know them or believe that they are, or desire to, be involved with who they are or not. And I think the greatest challenge that we face today, and those, in the industry or in any industry, is that you lose sight of who you are by all these distractions and reactions. And if you don't take time to align and calibrate and figure out who the heck you want to be, what is your goal? What do you hope to achieve? Do you want to be, a jack of all trades and master of nothing? Or do you want to own a farm area, which is kind of what I did when I started. I said, we're in an area in Florida, and obviously other parts of the country, that there's a lot of gated communities. There's a lot of them. I don't know what's going on behind the gates that people don't, as Jerry Seinfeld said, are people stealing old people in Florida? What's going on with all the gates? But behind each set of gates, there's a whole different set of fees. Is there a golf course? Is membership required? Is there pickleball? Every single, what days are trash? They're all different. There's all these nuances, and it's very, very hard, I think, in any area to really be all knowing. So, if you authentically decide, okay, I don't want to be that, but I want to be this, find and give yourself a title. I had in my mind, I was going to be the queen of Quail Creek. And that's the community, the gated community, mind you, where I live. And I was determined every day that I got up, I walked the 4-mile circle every morning with I'm aging myself, my poor Omar, plug your ears, with my Walkman and my CD player, listening to Zig Ziglar and his sales training. Omar, you probably don't know who he is, but back in the day, he was great and classic. But I would walk and I would memorize the front elevations of all the properties in the communities in the community. We also have names on mailboxes. So I was memorizing the names on the mailbox and the front elevation of the property, all the side streets, so that when I finally got that first phone call, I would be able to, I didn't have the knowledge in the industry just yet, but I authentically already loved living in the community. And what I did was I took time to get to know every little nuance that I could rattle off off the tip of my tongue, and knew the community like the back of my hand. Well, maybe what I was lacking in real estate, knowledge at the time, because I didn't have any sales under my belt, I was able to convert into just, I couldn't be competed. Well, No one could compete with the knowledge that I had, because at the time, no one else was really living in the community, really pushing it as much as I was at the time. So I was able to go in and compete effectively and hugely just by shifting my focus to that knowledge and the authenticity that came from living there and loving it. I still live there 23 years later, on my second house in the community, but no one knows Quail Creek more than I, and at least I believe so. But that has equated out to market share on the list and sell side for 23 years, so it's that authenticity and figuring out who you want to be, and more importantly, gaining the knowledge on, doesn't matter if you're in real estate or any industry, but gaining the knowledge and what that goal is that you have set for yourself. I'm going to be the queen of Quail Creek. I'm going to sell all the properties to the best of my ability. But I knew that it had to come from within, and it had to be me learning all by myself. And that's what I did. And that, I think that's what everyone out there, really needs to do, that is especially starting in the industry, especially now, especially now. And for those in the industry, that I just recently saw a stat that 71% of agents at NAR last year did not sell a single property. 71%. And I will tell you, I do a little personal research, whether it's within my organizational structure or outside. And what I learned is in our market, the ones that didn't really sell anything are missing the unique value proposition. And or they haven't decided who they want to be. Maybe by day they're doing one thing, by night they're, doing sporadic deals. But that is the difference between success or not.
I love that. I love all of what you just said. Totally resonating. And totally agree, especially when it comes to authenticity. So prior to me becoming a proptech marketer, I actually helped my husband build his business as a realtor. So he's a top agent, first in Beverly Hills. We moved to Bellevue, but back in our day, when he was starting out, he door knocked, right? It's like that was 20 years ago. We were door knocking. But imagine my husband trying to break into the Hollywood Hills market, door knocking up and down the hills of Hollywood Hills.
Yeah.
Was super hard. Most of the time he got the door slammed on his face and people tried to call the cops on him, but that's another story. But anyhow, we then decided to lean into his authenticity and be extra and lean into the things that we loved. So for us, we were in our, late 20s. We loved traveling, we loved food, and we loved partying. So what we did was, when the door knocking didn't work, we ended up door knocking a different way. We created these beautiful invitations to then invite our neighbors to have dinner with us.
Yeah.
So we would have a nice dinner with a few people. Turns out when you build a relationship with people, they learn to trust you, and then they hire you as a realtor. It's like, oh, mind blown.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, over the years, we then would host big birthday parties. So my husband would have his annual celebration every December. We would invite all the current clients, and then we would encourage them to invite at least a friend or two. And we would have a big party. After each big party, we would get another client out of it. And it was also a great way for client retention. So, being extra, being authentic, all of that. Did anybody else want to chime in on that? Omar?
Kat, I mean, so that's funny you say that. Right now, like, my big play is events. Like, I have an event today at 3 p.m. that I'm throwing in Baltimore. We have 150 plus people registered. And for me, it's not just the client side, but also the realtor side events. I throw a lot of events for realtors. And I would say almost every event that I throw, I get at least one referral out of it, right? It's like people get to know you, they like you, they trust you, they hang out with you. It's better than any type of door knocking you could do. It's a lot warmer, and they came to you, right? So even though you're spending X amount on the events, etc., the investment is like well worth your time.
It is. And events go a long way. I feel like, especially in this industry, I think, a lot of the reason why people are in real estate and prop tech is because they love people. They love to be around people. And it's like relationship building is a really important part And it is part of owned media. So I encourage folks to really look into that kind of channel and not just focus on the digital channels, but also on the in-person channels. Okay, next question. We're going to start with Marci on this one. So, everybody's doing it. We're all creating content. We've got blogs, we've got newsletters, we've got podcasts. There's so much content out there. Marci, take us through your own media approach, whether it's building a website or newsletters, blogs, etc. Like, how do you leverage those channels? And, how do you figure out which ones are the most important for your clients? I know it's a lot. It's a loaded question. Oh, unmute, please. You need to unmute, Marci.
There we go.
Oh,
I didn't actually realize I was going to lead this one, but content marketing is my favorite. I love content marketing. And for me, I think the easiest thing to remember is you're providing value. So you have to, in any marketing situation, you have to give before you can sell. You have to build trust. So you're creating content with the purpose of building trust with your audience. And the quickest way to build trust is to provide value. And so as far as in the language that you use on your website, everything that you do, think of all the different ways you can provide value. And again, look at your niche audience. Who is your niche? Small independent brokers. What are their biggest problems? Whether their biggest problems have anything to do with your product or not, you can still help with some of those problems. You can blog on it. You can provide downloadable sheets that they can use. Whatever it is, always think about where can I provide value? And so make a list of all of those things and then think about the different ways that you can create content around that, whether it's a blog post or video content or a social media post, a podcast, webinars, all of those different things. I always feel most importantly, you're going to lead with value.
And I think the other thing we all take for granted is, especially with the proliferation of AI, is creativity, right? We talked about this a couple of days ago, Marci, how it's just like creativity is intelligence having fun, how creativity still matters. Like we all, the thing is you don't want to sound the same as everybody else. So how do you sound different? Omar, I mean, I feel like social media is the hardest to be creative at because there's so many people out there. Like, how do you,
Correct.
it's like,
Well, Marci had a really, really good point. I tell everyone this all the time, whether it's agents on my team, whether it's one of our clients that pay us to do this, it's like your content has to be two things, right? It needs to be either A, educational, or B, entertaining. If it's anything else, there's no point, right? So anytime you're posting content, whatever type of video it is, I don't care if it's a photo, whatever it is, we have to think, okay, what is my audience going to get out of this? Like, it's all about them. It's not about Kat, it's not about Omar, it's not about Marci. It's like, what is Joe on the other side of this going to get from it, right? And for me too, like Marci said, the core content, that if there was only one type of content that I would be able to pump out, it would 110% be educational content, because that's where you provide the most value, right? For us as real estate professionals, it might be super common and known that you don't need 20% down to buy a house, and that you can get a HELOC loan if you're trying to do X, Y, Z. And there's so many things that for us, it's so normal, but to the average person, they don't know a lot of this. So if you can be that go-to resource, I think that's where you win. Like my goal, and a lot of people come to me, it's like, hey, Omar, I want to start doing videos. I want to get leads from it, blah, blah. I'm like, yes, great. Absolutely, you will. But your goal is, my goal for my content when I pump out content every day is that I just want people to see my content on a regular enough basis to where anytime they think about real estate, they think about Omar. Anytime they think about Omar, they think about real estate, right? You want that synergy, whatever your brand is, whatever your business is. So I think the way you stand out, number one, is a lot of people do post a lot of content. There's a lot of content out there, but it lasts maybe a month, it lasts maybe 2 months, it lasts maybe even 6 months, right? But a lot of people aren't consistent with it within a long period of time. So if you can do this for a year, 2 years, 3 years, like, it's the greatest investment you can make. If I was to go back in time and you told me I wasn't going to sell any type of real estate, I wasn't going to do anything, but I could keep my personal brand and what I've built, and I was posting constant content, I would take that over anything, because I think in 2025 and beyond, the people that make content for their business, whatever the business is, are going to win.
Yeah. Amen to that. Danny, What about from the earned media side? You know, when it comes to that, what grabs your attention as a news publication? I know you kind of, you know, talked a little bit about it a while ago, but, you know, give us some, you know, be specific, like what certain press releases and company announcements are worth covering, especially in this day and age.
So value is clearly important on all sides, including the earned media side. And I think that when it comes to earned media, you can also leverage your expertise. So for us, there's several ways you could kind of get involved with our organization, and many other organizations as well. You can be a source, meaning be the expert for news source stories that you know, reporters interview to get kind of the inside scoop on what's happening or get context on a story. You can also make news and become the subject of news. And that's where, again, your UVP and knowing all of kind of what you're adding to the conversation is really important. And then you can also become a contributor at some publications, and that's writing your expertise and kind of what your experiences have been. And to your point about AI and creativity, I think one way you can kind of get creative is to add anecdotal kind of information that really makes your content different than, say, what AI is pumping out.
Yes.
When you're becoming a contributor, which is what I tend to do, I think leaning on the value and really just tangible takeaways are really important. Whoever your audience is, really focus on what those takeaways are for that audience and just drill down on what you can add with your expertise to the conversation to kind of give people what they need to walk away and implement whatever those tangible takeaways are in their life or their business or whatever it is that you're talking about.
Such great insight, great advice.
I love that, Danny. And I was just, before you even mentioned that, I was going to unmute and throw that in because it's just something I always try to do with content is have those tangible like takeaways or those action items, things that after someone reads your blog post or listens to your podcast, here's 2 things I can go home and implement right now to make my business or my marketing better. So yeah.
That's what's so great about what we call service journalism is that it's meant to, it used to be called refrigerator journalism because it's those really helpful things that you're going to like clip out of the newspaper in the newspaper days, in the Walkman newspaper days, and put them on your refrigerator and refer back to them later. It's better for your life as a reader.
And nowadays we do screenshots and share it on social,
Exactly.
which is even better, right? Because now you're sharing it with the community and not just in front of your fridge. I love that. Thank you. Okay, so this is a question for anybody and everybody. So, you know we just can't go from 0 to hero in one day. We've all learned that there's no silver bullet to marketing. It's a marathon, not a sprint. And to Omar's point, you know, there's a lot of cadence and consistency involved. So in addition to cadence and consistency, are there any other, you know, is there a formula as to which formats work best for which audience at which stage of growth? This is a loaded question. So for example, should I be on every social channel as soon as I launch or just pick 1 or 2? Should I generate newsletters when I'm just starting out and only have a database of 100 friends? And when's the best time to write my first press release and ask Inman for coverage? There's a lot of these things, but you know, anybody feel free to chime in. Again, loaded question. We're not going to go from 0 to hero, but how to become a hero.
Could I jump into that one? Or Marci, are you jumping in?
No, go ahead, Tiffany, you go.
Well, I was just going to say, you know, I think what I had said earlier, I think it's so we can overwhelm ourselves trying to be a jack of all trades, master of nothing. And, you know, you kind of have to figure out, okay, what kind of time do I have? And what type of understanding do I have of various platforms, you know, and what is my market in terms of the goal that I'm trying to set? What is the market for that? And, you know, I know all across the country, it's different everywhere. I always used to say that Naples would be a town, the last town with a printed newspaper. And I think we are. But, you have to kind of know the nuances of where people are really looking. And, I think there's a lot of times that people will think, oh, I have to throw money at it. I have to throw money at it. But I will tell you, in diversification, in a world of relationship marketing, where you're combining, social media, you're combining, one-on-ones, you're combining events, which I too do a ton of, and love the event idea. But more importantly, there's a capacity right now, and you're probably going to think I'm crazy, and this is not going back to Zig Ziglar days, but the conversion rate right now for our market, and I'm assuming there's other areas out there in the country, for direct mail, good direct mail, not just, cheap little pieces that have a lot of white space, and good imagery, good connection point, colorful, the conversion is through the roof. Right.
Wow.
Because think about it. We are now in a world where everyone's thinking social media, and that's great. You need that too. You don't necessarily need all of them. I tend to focus on Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn, wink Marci, because she's my go-to for that. But the print right now, because again, distraction reaction, you're seeing things and you may connect with it, you may screenshot it. I know myself, I currently have 26,340 images in my phone. And I only know this because I just switched to a new phone. So 26,000. Now, I know my intent at the time of taking those screenshots or photos were really good, that I was going to go back to them, but they go clear back to flipping 2010. And I know there's a ton of great recipes that I have screenshot that I would probably love to make today, but I'm not going to go back to them. But what I am going to go back to is if I got something in the mail that either offered me great information, maybe a hot sheet of market activity, or maybe an awesome open house that was coming up that was going to be event style. Like this weekend, we're giving away Girl Scout cookies at open house. But, it's things like that that people are tending to hold on to, and maybe they're not ready to sell right now or buy right now. But if it's something that appears to be of value, then they will hold on to it. And the conversion right now, and oddly, the conversion that we've been getting on it is like 3 to 5.5 months after when that piece went.
Wow.
It is so crazy. But
That's
the
phenomenal.
conversion is 6 to 7% in any community that we are sending out to, compared to everything else. So if you're doing that, you're using that same imagery in your social media posting, you're maybe talking about it when you're out and about, you're really going full circle with all the info and the data. It's incredible because you're projecting yourself larger than life. And then when you're walking into their living room, they've seen you in their kitchen on the postcard, they've seen you in their feed, they've seen you at the grocery store. Now it's just a matter of semantics. So diversify.
I love that. And thank you for reminding us.
And I
Good
just
old
wanted to add to that, because I love the direct mail, especially when it's a real quality piece and it has a value attached to it, like, a beautiful recipe that they want to save, or, whatever information that you've provided. I love, Tiffany also does this, she sends out this list of all of the best pizza places in Naples, Florida, with their addresses and phone numbers and tips on what to order and things like that. And like, I would keep that. I would totally keep that on hand, and I love it. But I also think that there's this saying for that people remember how you made them feel, and not like what you said. The same applies to marketing. People are going to remember how your piece of marketing made them feel. And that's why when you're adding value and you're making it so much fun, like Tiffany does with her marketing, people remember that. And that's builds so much trust.
Yeah. I'll add one thing to that about the list, if that's okay. it was my slice of paradise, which I think everyone could and or should do because they hold on to stuff like that, you know, maybe your favorite diner. But the one that we get the most conversion on, and you won't even believe this, is a list of important numbers they need to know. So if it's a community that you're farming or your business, you know, wants to mail to, like gatehouse, you know, police, whatever the main numbers would be, clubhouse, whatever. But the two top numbers that we always put are the phone number for the White House and the Pentagon. And it's their real numbers. And do you know how many people, you want to talk about like sneezing out an incredible conversion tool, because especially, you know, in today's world, but everyone calls those numbers and then they all talk about it. Oh my gosh, so-and-so sent out this, you know, this list and the White House number. So I called it because I was curious. You know, curiosity equals conversion. Because you're getting the piece, you're getting them to react. Now you're getting them to go a whole other step to actually dial the phone. Now they're listening, going, oh my gosh, it's really the White House. They hang up. And then they're talking to people about it. And I called the White House today or the Pentagon. It's just something, but it's remarkable. It's a
Really
remarkable.
of government efficiencies to that list.
Yeah, right, right. You know, but it's those types of things that you know, make all the difference in the world.
I love that. And that goes back to, you know, being creative, being extra. And again, thank you for reminding us of the beauty of mailers. And that's the great thing about real estate, right? It's like
Yeah.
you can have a farm, so mailers don't have to cost that much. You can just keep on focusing on those 500 potential clients
Right.
every month or whatever the case may be. So
Yeah.
mailer is still a great thing for our industry. Thank you, Tiffany.
You're welcome.
I think, you know, you talked about conversion rates. I know we're running out of time here. I want to have time for Q&A. But, you know, I think I want to talk a little bit about marketing metrics. We could probably do a whole webinar just on marketing math. So maybe we'll do that. But just, you know, for today's sake, I did promise our audience to talk a little bit about marketing math. So in addition to what Tiffany talked about with conversion rates, with mailers, Marci, Danny, Omar, do you have any other, you know, call outs as far as marketing math goes? Like, what are the most important metrics to you when it comes to marketing?
I mean, I think you need to measure the results of everything you do in marketing to the best of your ability and try to connect, you know, directly to revenue, the impact that you're having. And it's not just like if you're generating leads, you have to always remember it's not just like how many leads you're generating from any particular piece of content or ad, but the quality of those leads is really important as well. Tracking tools, you know, adding UTM parameters to every link that you use in your marketing, having Google Analytics set up. Even if you don't want to, if you want to make it really simple, you could just use Bitly instead of Google Analytics and UTM parameters, but just tracking and understanding, you know, and then I like to, with all of my clients, I always go into their Google Analytics weekly, and I want to know where our traffic's coming from. Like what, you know, who's coming from, how many hits are we getting from social? How many are we getting on the website? How many are coming in from, you know, Google search? How are our, because blogs, you know, blogging is one of the best things you can do for SEO. And I like to see what's our top trending blog posts this month, which blogs are bringing in the most traffic, which ones are, you know, is Google paying attention to? So it's really important to track all of that and look at it on a weekly basis just to understand how your marketing is performing.
Yeah, that's great insight. I think too, as far as SEO goes, I mean, Danny, earned media, right? It's like one of the key things as far as increasing that SEO.
Yeah, absolutely. I think anytime you can align with another entity that has massive reach, it's good for you.
Mm-hmm. And even
Yeah.
something as simple as, you know, putting a press release together. Let's say if it doesn't get picked up by all the majors like an Inman, putting out that press release through a PR web, right? Or a Cision, or what are the new ones nowadays, Quoted? There's a few out there, right? Omer, you were saying something?
Yeah, I was just saying on the social side, it's a little bit more simple, I would say. I think for me, like what I'm really tracking on the social side is A, what type of impressions am I getting? And then am I getting it from my current followers or a new set of followers? So on Instagram, it's probably the best place. If you go to your main profile, there's the insights tool right on your profile. You can click it and you can see all types of things. What demographic am I reaching the most? What age group? What locations, etc. So I'm really looking at that. And then honestly, the metric that I'm tracking the most per post is my shares. Like I don't really care that much about my likes. I don't care that much about my views, but like how many shares am I getting? And typically the shares always correlate to how well your video does. And usually the more shares there are, the better the video is doing. Because again, people are reposting it to their story, they're sending it to friends. Like that video is good enough to where people are saying, let me send this to XYZ person. So I'm looking at my insights tool and then also just looking at the shares. It's a lot simpler when it comes to social media. It's right at your palm.
I love that. You know, it's like so many people look at followers and all the other usuals, but to look at the shares, that's actually more important to your point. Okay, let's see here. Do we have any questions? I haven't been really paying too much attention to the chat. Let me just see if there's any other questions on the chat. Do I see anything?
You guys ask some questions because I've been kind of watching.
Looks like
Some
mostly
great
everybody's
comments.
saying, yeah, great comments and great panel. So thank you guys. I think, do we have any questions? No, no questions. All right, no questions. So, you know, I wanted to just recap if there were no questions. Oh, email insights. Oh, Mara. Okay, great. Let's talk a little bit about email insights. Who wants to get into this one? Marci, you're the king of queen of owned media. Do you want to get a little bit into the
Well, email is my favorite form of marketing. I didn't actually realize this until I started my own agency over the last couple years. But I absolutely love. I'm addicted to email, and there's so much that goes into it. But just I would say it is the most economical form of marketing out there. You get the biggest result for the least amount of spend, and it still works. And every time I send an email, I'm in there like addictively checking open rates and click rates. And I almost gamify it for myself because I'm always trying to beat. Like I look at every email. Why didn't we get clicks on this email? It wasn't valuable enough. And how can I improve this on the next send? So open rates and click-through rates are what you really want to focus on with email marketing. You need to keep a close eye on bounces. I know you talked about this a bit, Kat. Soft bounces and hard bounces you want to eliminate immediately. Anybody that's a hard bounce, move them to blocked or unsubscribed. And then the soft bounces can be for multiple reasons, but keep an eye on it. If you're soft bouncing somebody more than, probably 4 times in a period of 3 months, you might want to, move them over to a separate list. I actually just create a separate list, a segment with all of those soft bounces. And then like when I'm sending emails, send to everybody but this list. Because your part of your authority is based on how many people open your emails, and those soft bounces and hard bounces, obviously they're not going to open your email because they're not receiving them. And so in order to get the highest open rate, you want to remove those. So when you're sending emails, try to focus on sending to as often as possible on a regular basis to your engaged, the people that are actively engaged. And most email platforms will have that setting, send to engaged users in this segment. And that'll really help if you do that regularly. And then when you have a big announcement or something important that you really want to get out to everybody, you can expand that and bring in some of those soft bounces because some of those may be no longer bouncing. So
Pat, I'm so sorry. I have to head out.
Oh, that's okay. Well, Tiffany, thank you. You know, before you head out, we're gonna take a quick selfie. I know that as part of our
2 o'clock, so I'm trying to
give me a quick smile. Cheese. Tiffany, thank you for joining us. If anybody wants to reach out to Tiffany, she is on LinkedIn.
Anytime. Thank you so much, Kat, and thank you, everyone.
Such an honor. Thanks,
such an honor to be a part of it. Thank you.
Bye, Tiffany. There is a question. I think Nikki is asking, is there an email platform you recommend the most? I mean, I think for ease of use and for small, if you don't have a huge list, MailChimp. So with some of my clients that are small, we use MailChimp. With some of the bigger clients, there's multiple. Two of my clients use Brevo, which is a great platform. And I love that it also, especially for startups where you're having to warm up a domain, it's super, super important to get that domain warmed up before you start sending lots of emails out. And one of the things that Brevo does is when when I'm sending a campaign, I can choose to have it dripped out. So that means what they'll do is, instead of a bulk email, like MailChimp's going to send a bulk email, everybody's going to get the emails, all going to go out at the same time. What Brevo does is it sends one email at a time and it drips them out. We're going to send 500 a day, but they're not bulk. They're going to be dripped out throughout the day. And then if your list is 10,000, it's going to take, 5 days because there's 500 a day that are going out. So it really like drips it out slowly. So things like that, be aware of.
I love that. I actually haven't used Brevo yet, so I'm gonna have to look into that. I've used Constant Contact, Wix, because it's, where our website platform was on. So sometimes that helps too, where if your website platform is on one and they also have, CRM as part of it, that's another, way to use emails is through the web platform so that you're collecting information into one place and also doing your marketing through the same place. Let's see. Any other questions? Let me see. Oh, love Brevo. All right. I think since we are up against time, I was gonna share 6 C's based on our conversation today, but I feel like we actually have 3 E's that were consistently coming up, and that is why content marketing works best, and it's through making it educational, making it entertaining, and to Danny's point, becoming an expert source or contributor. Let's see what else. Just going through my notes here, make sure I don't miss anything. All right. So we're going to wrap up. I'm going to leave you with one final thought. And that is develop a marketing first mindset. And I think we alluded to that quite a bit today. In today's crowded real estate landscape, launching a new business isn't about having a great product and service. It's more than that, right? It's about your value prop. It's about making sure people know about it. It's about cutting through the noise and building a brand that resonates. Think about it. Every decision you make, from your website design to your newsletters and podcasts, and even the way you engage on social media, it's all marketing. It's all part of telling your story and attracting your ideal customer. When you prioritize marketing from the very beginning, you're not just selling a product or service. You're building a movement. You're creating a community. You're establishing yourself as a leader. So that would be my takeaway, is to, develop a marketing first mindset. Marci, Danny, Omer, let's give one takeaway as well, since that's part of what we preached today, was to give something tactical, right? So I'll start with Danny.
Write and repurpose.
I love it.
Yes.
Anything you're writing, you can make into social media content. You can repurpose into other blogs. You can make video. You can just do so much with it. So write to get your thoughts straight, and then repurpose to make other content.
Love that. Nikki's taking notes. All right, Omer, what about you?
My good one takeaway would be just start making content. I don't care if it's a selfie style video where you're just, talking about your daughter's soccer game. I don't care what it is. Just start posting content, get yourself comfortable on camera, and then start releasing it. Like it's start with just filming at first. You don't have to post it immediately, but then get comfortable on camera and then just start posting. Doesn't matter what platform, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, just start.
Yes, just do it. Marci.
I think I'm just going to emphasize the fact that stop thinking like a marketer when you're doing marketing and start thinking like a guide, and think about, what does your audience need help with? What questions do they have? And then create content that serves before it sells.
And that definitely will go back to the authenticity, right? It's like, it'll be your most authentic self. I know that sounds like a cliche, but it's just the truth when it comes to content production, guys.
Well, the hardest thing for me is that not all CEOs like understand that. And so trying to convey that message, like you have to build trust, you have to build a relationship before you can sell. And I think the more we preach it, the more it's understood.
That's right. Well, on that note, I know you guys learned a lot. I've been taking notes and I've been a marketer for 25 years. So thank you so much for educating all of us on the best content marketing strategies out there. Marci, Danny, Omar, and Tiffany, who is on to her next call. And thank you to the attendees for being a part of our program. We're sending out a recording, but feel free to reach out to any of us on LinkedIn, right? Everybody's on LinkedIn. Stay inspired, keep marketing, and we'll see you all next time. Thank you.
Thanks, you guys.
Bye.